This is a new day. This is a new day full of sound and light. Nice gray light today. And expectation. This day has been waiting for you. It's been waiting especially for you to embrace you, to guide you. This day has been waiting with open arms, just for you. This is the day we have been given. Let's not waste it. Come now. I love the energy. Come now, and let us worship together. Please rise in body or spirit for our first hymn. It's been a while since we've done this one, but I love it, and we have a wonderful pianist who can carry us through it. It's hymn 1051. We are 1051 in the Teal hymnal.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are.
Good morning. How are you doing this morning? I saw someone go like that, which I haven't seen for a while. Good. I'm glad you're all doing well. Lindsay reminded me we have a very enviable position up here on the chancel because we could smell all the delicious soup coming from downstairs. Thank you for everyone who brought soup. Everyone, and everyone not here, please tell your friends. We have a soup fundraiser happening, a way to benefit the church by eating soup. Two of my favorite things. So come join us downstairs in Channing Hall. It's going to be afterward, and it goes until 5 p.m. So if you know people in the community that could use a bowl of soup, we are doing to go as well. So if people just want to come and get some soup to go, that would be wonderful. So please join us for that. You'll also see some folks maybe walking. The crop walk is also happening. We're a host site this year. We've been a host site for a number of years in a row now, where they start here and then walk throughout all the way to Crandall Park, make a loop, and then come back, and they do that a few times. And this is a walk to end hunger. So you'll see a bunch of folks. You're welcome to join them. I've joined them many times before. So keep an eye out for that. And then I wanted to highlight, I know some folks have been asking, and maybe you've found your own channels to give relief for the hurricanes that have hit the South. There is one channel that I can provide that is very helpful to our congregations in particular that have been hit, and to members within those congregations that have sadly lost their homes. And right now, that fund actually needs some funding. So all congregations are being told that if you want to give to many of our Unitarian Universalist friends that are impacted by the hurricane, you can give directly through texting or giving online through that website. And that's a direct way to help folks during this time. I now would love to invite a really good-looking man in a suit, Ryan Striefler, for our chalice sliding.
Good morning. I hope everybody's doing well today and that you all had a good week. As we start here, either the end of a week or the beginning of a new week, depending on how your personal calendar runs. Mine was a little rough this week, to be honest. There's a lot of stuff going on at work. October is a tough month every year, financially. We pay our house insurance annually and our 2 car insurances annually. They're always due at the end of every October, and then there's the next taxes for 6 months for property taxes for Mahoning County. Things always seem a little light this time of year, especially by the end of the month. When my wife Justina and I had our son Ben 2 years ago, we decided that she'd stay home from work instead of going back to enjoy the last child and be able to experience those years as a stay-at-home mom. And that's been a really good decision for our family. But this also meant she didn't go back to work as a physical therapist assistant, And, our financial situation was basically cut in half for those choices. Unfortunately and embarrassingly, our credit card payment was returned last month because of insufficient funds. That's the first time that's happened to me in like 20 years. But I had a contractor come over and help fix my septic system in July, and they just weren't, for whatever reason, unable to deposit that check for a couple months. And I kind of lost sight of that and never really checked within 4 days of the payment being due, and so that was returned to us with insufficient funds. So that was kind of an embarrassing mistake. And so, why are we talking about this here anyways? I was raised, there were 3 things you didn't talk about in polite society. I think that's how it was phrased, polite society. I don't know what that means, but that was money, God, and politics. And here I am breaking the first one, talking about money, in a church nonetheless, where presumably you'd have conversations about the second. And yet I wonder now, as an adult, if I should have been so instructed to keep quiet about financial things. We live in a capitalist society, and there's a strong culture of consumption. And if money isn't the end-all and be-all for many people in our society, it's probably close. It certainly is a source of stress for me and a worry for many of us. At least I hope it's not just me. I know it was for my parents too. I was 18 years old when I went to college and I filled out something called the free application for federal student aid, or the FAFSA, and your parents have to fill that out with you. And that's when I realized for the first time in 1998 that my dad was raising 6 kids on $27,000 a year. I was horrified like that, totally horrified. I knew we were poor growing up, but I didn't really have any idea in terms of exact dollar and cents. He worked 3 jobs just to barely make these ends meet. I never saw him when I was a teenager especially, just because he was always working. I learned that many of us just suffer in silence and keep our heads down and pray. And I think we do that here at UUYO too. When I first started attending here 7 or 8 years ago, I didn't really contribute much financially. I'd throw a couple bucks into the plate each week. I wanted my kids to see that, and we would talk about how it was important to give to the causes that you care about and kind of put your wallet where your mouth was. And that spending money in our society is like casting a vote for things that are important to you. But I didn't pledge income or give consistently. As the years went by, my involvement grew. And then came COVID, and that really decimated our UUYO community here. We lost many fine people, some of them my friends, to COVID, and their presence will never be forgotten or replaced. I miss some of them dearly. But after COVID passed and we took stock of things, we also realized as a church community, we lost much of our funding. Honestly, there were about 12 or 14 members who were contributing 85 to 90% of this church budget, just themselves, and God bless them. It became clear to me that if some of us didn't step up and try to plug at least some of this gap, this wonderful space and the welcoming community just wouldn't be able to continue on in this way. So I started the pledge after COVID, and I eventually joined the pledge team to try to help bring awareness to our church's meager financial situation, and out of the spirit of stewardship that I felt impressed upon me to preserve both this type of community in Youngstown as well as this beautiful building in which we are able to meet. And so here it is, friends. We're starting our pledge drive season here on this second weekend in October, and it's going to run until about Thanksgiving. We run this place completely on pledge donations from membership or outside community members, just people who care about UUYO. It takes about $140,000 to run this place every year. Honestly, that's not bad for a religious institution with a physical building like ours. We employ 4 people. We pay for beautiful musicians who inspire us and lift our spirits on Sunday. We give of our time and our resources to provide for those hurting in this valley, as we should. It's a core part of our covenant to help one another. But this place can't exist with good intentions alone. Not everybody signed the membership book that's here today, and many of us never will, and that's okay. We belong to this community regardless if we're a signed member, or regular participant, or somebody who just walked in on a random Sunday. But if we were, hypothetically, to take our membership book and divvy our financial expenses and obligations among those members alone, it would cost each member about $100 a month to meet our financial obligations as a church and to raise, our goal for each year. The past 3 years, we've fallen short, and that's taken some clever accounting and less money to put into the physical building to get us through. We've looked at ways to cut our expenses down, and our goals reflect that. This year, we're only trying to raise $120,000, less than any annual budget that's been presented to this congregation since I've been a member here. But at the end of the day, there's only so many cuts we can make. Things cost what they cost, and those costs, as we all know, continue to rise. And so I'm here today to ask you to consider making a financial pledge to our sacred space. Not because you're rolling in the cash or even feel like you have any extra to give. I know I don't. My wife and I would probably have less stress if we didn't contribute our monthly amount, at least financially. Things are not only always easy with money in our house, but we do it anyways. Because losing this space, having to leave this building after 100 years here in this community is unfathomable to me. I don't know of any other space where I would feel like home as I do here. I know some of us are probably like me, where you've gone to other religious institutions. Maybe you're here because of your experiences within other religious institutions, especially as young people. Youngstown needs us. We need one another. I'm so glad I found this place on Google and randomly showed up one Sunday 7 or 8 years ago. This place feels like home to me, and I wholeheartedly concur with our theme this year, that there's no place like home. There's no place like UUYO. Not in our hearts and not in our community, friends. This is it. This is all we have. Let's not lose it. Please consider speaking to a member of the pledge team in the next month after church, whether that's today or in future weeks. That's myself, that's Brandy, that's Jack, Ellen. Any of us could help you and just discuss things through and see what we could do together. If you have never pledged before, could you pledge $5 a month? $10 a month? It's not a significant ask. It doesn't mean you wouldn't feel it, but it's also just part of belonging to the community and making sure that we're all doing what little we can. I have the church automatically deduct my donation from my accounts each month. That helps me budget more effectively. And honestly, it's easier to donate when I was never planning on spending that money in the first place, because I never really saw it before it was given to this church. If you already pledge, could you increase your pledge? Would that be possible? Could you pay for part of another member's share? If you can, please consider it. We sure could use it, friends. And if you're unable to give, please continue your fabulous efforts in volunteering around here. So many of you give much more than money in your time, in your presence, and of your spirits. Thank you so much, and we light this chalice in reflection of all that we've been given and all the future places we can go together.
Now let's greet one another. Say hello.
Hush up, I don't want to turn you into anything. The story for today is The Rumor by Monique Felix, a Swiss artist who both wrote and illustrated the book. There once was a small, quiet village built upon green hills. It was a peaceful place filled with good neighbors, not unlike the church. Rupert lived in a house on Cottontail Drive, There he read the newspaper every morning. Rupert was so well informed that he knew what was happening all around the village. One morning, Rupert read an alarming report. A wolf had been spotted in the hills. Rupert sprang from his easy chair and hopped off to warn Cleo, who was napping in a nearby meadow. "Have you heard the news? A wolf is coming. They say he has such big ears that he can hear you from a mile away." Cleo was so frightened that her fur stood on end. She crept away on the quietest paws to inform Edgar, who was watering his garden. "They say he has such sharp claws that he can tear your ears into ribbons. A wolf is coming." Edgar had always been rather attached to his ears. He tucked them in close to his head and lumbered off to tell Gazelle, who was painting her house. If you're a giraffe, it's a lot easier to paint your house. "A wolf is coming. They say he has such a strong snout that he can vacuum you up for dinner." Gazelle imagined how easily she might be vacuumed into such a snout. She dropped her paintbrush and bounded off to alert Primo, who was just digging into lunch. "A wolf is coming. They say his neck is so long that he can strangle you in a knot." Primo nearly choked on his greens. He grunted nervously and waddled away as quickly as he could to find Antone, who was enjoying a bath. "A wolf is coming. They say he stinks so badly that you can drop dead with just one whiff." Antone didn't want to get a whiff or drop dead. He splashed out of his tub and crawled off to save Wallace, who was gathering wild mushrooms in the hills just behind his house. "A wolf is coming. They say he has so many teeth that he can devour you in a single bite." Can you see what kind of animal Edgar is? Wallace is. Quick! Wallace did not want to be devoured before he was able to eat his mushrooms, so he took his basket into his house and called on his neighbors, "Everybody come inside." And so Rupert, Cleo, Edgar, Gazelle, Primo, and Antone took shelter in Wallace's house. They double-locked the door, feasted on a delicious mushroom soup, and enjoyed each other's company well into the night. As for the wolf, rumor has it he still roams the hills. Would the children come forth and help me read the covenant? We have children. Do you know it? Do you know it? Love is the spirit of this church. Whoops. And service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Now you'll sing us off to religious exploration. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
It's a great morning for soup. Good morning, everyone. During service each week, in addition to our pledge requests, we take up an offering. It's good to remind ourselves from time to time that the offering is symbolic as well as practical. We pass the plate during our worship service to make a community expression of thanks for the blessing of abundance and to support our community in a tangible way. This month, our offering goes to support the minister's discretionary fund. This fund is used to help our members and community in times of need, providing meals, assisting with bills, providing temporary shelter, and more. We will now receive the offering that supports the life of our church, the Mahoning Valley, and our wider world.
Such a cozy day. Let's enjoy it with a time of meditation.
Our reading today is a poem titled Hunger for Something by Chase Twitchell. Sometimes I long to be the woodpile, cut apart trees soon to be smoke, or even the smoke itself. Sinewy ghost of ash and air, going wherever I want to, at least for a while. Neither inside nor out, neither lost nor home, no longer a shape or a name. I'd pass through all the broken windows of the world. It's not a wish for consciousness to end. It's not the appetite an army has for its own emptying heart, but a hunger to stand now and then alone on the death grounds where the dogs of the self are feeding.
I remember, I think it was my first year here, meeting with some of the hospitality teams downstairs in Channing Hall, where we're about to have soup very shortly. And together, we came to the conclusion at that meeting that what we were doing together through hospitality was the essence of religious life. The essence. Finding ways to feed each other. Feeding each other. Who likes to eat? Okay, some people, good. Feeding each other food, food, drink, and friendship. Friendship. That understanding is still with me. But before we get to the point of feeding, it may be good to take a step back and look at hunger and the causes and conditions that produce hunger. Who's been hungry before? I think hunger is something we all understand. We, on some level, know that whether with food or with friendship, we can't just subsist on one meal for the rest of our lives or one encounter. It's in us to desire more, right? And hunger and satisfaction depend on one another. We need to know we're hungry before we know how to do anything about it. Does that make sense? I've been very fortunate in my life to never know prolonged periods of hunger. But I've known hunger. And maybe you've had this experience. I've been hungry and then busy. Some of you have seen this. I've been hungry and then busy. And then I forget or don't make time to eat. And then a strange thing happens. After a while, I lose the sense that I'm hungry, even though I am. I don't know if you've had this experience. Maybe it's just me. But my body gets used to hunger to the point that I should eat, but my body is trying to protect me from that information. And by that point, my hunger usually comes out sideways. Okay? I get short-tempered, more impatient, a bit more terse. And by this point, Jennifer is like trying to sneak me like some fruit or some nuts and remind me to have a snack. But sometimes I get irrational. I say, I don't want a snack. I'm not hungry. And I'll see the look in Jennifer's eyes. You're hungry. Trust me. You're acting weird. So it occurs to me that maybe a good first step is to be able to recognize when we're hungry. And I see that sometimes in social situations. Sometimes I wonder if we don't know we're lonely, or we don't know we're needing affection. We don't know we're needing attention. We get so used to being how we are and what our life has become. We lose the sense of hunger for relationship, friendship. We can lose the sense of hunger for human touch. That's the American story, right? Especially a mid-century American story. A land of people surrounded by material abundance who are also deeply hungry. Hungry for friendship, a sense of belonging, intimacy that is not exploitative, a sense of closeness with the heart, with a thrum of life. I think that is a deep hunger, one that we all, I think, understand. To act as if we are not hungry may be a mistake. Or maybe not a mistake, an opportunity to be curious about why we don't want to admit we're hungry. I know for me it's been a process to recognize that just about everything I am is based on what I've been able to receive. I didn't earn it. It's not because I got it myself. Everything from air, food, sunlight, friendship, affection. It's not something I create myself. It's only something I can be open to. And the truth is, I find hunger inconvenient. I find hunger inconvenient to my plans. It sounds funny, but it's the truth. I find it inconvenient to have to take time to receive instead of go, go, go. But I've learned, mostly from hanging around here for a while, and it's taken a while, it's taken years, that the best things in life are not things I produce. They're gifts to receive. A cup of coffee, some nice soup, friendship, oxygen, sunlight, a person who offers positive attention. These are the best things, the best things. And since I so easily forget that, I wonder if as a culture we might forget that too. My suspicion is we forget that. And forgetting that creates more hunger. Of course, I think about literal, physical hunger. You can't live in Youngstown too long without noticing that there are no grocery stores within a certain neighborhood, or a corner shop with chips and processed food and minimal fruits and vegetables, while in some neighborhoods there are 4 grocery stores within a square mile. And of course, most of us by now, if you've lived in Youngstown, know the reasons for that. It would be sad, but really convenient, if the reason why we have physical hunger in this country and on this planet is because there simply wasn't enough food to go around. That would be very sad, but understandable, right? We just don't have enough. It's much harder to see, which most of us, I think, know, that hunger is not based on a lack of food. It would be convenient, sad but convenient, to think that we live in scarcity, right? It would be very sad but convenient to think that it's in the nature of life that some have food and some don't. And surely there just isn't enough food to go around for everyone to have enough. But I have an inconvenient truth. We live in abundance. And that's not a Pollyanna statement. It's a fact. Our top scientists and environmentalists have proven that we have enough land mass to grow food, get this, to not just feed the entire world, to feed the entire world many times over. We have not just enough food. We have more than enough food. We have an abundance, a surplus. So why hunger? You know? This is rhetorical, because I know most of you actually already know the answer. Right? The blunt truth is we've created hunger. We've created it. The reason why there isn't a Whole Foods or a Trader Joe's within the city of Youngstown is not because there isn't enough food to feed people. You know this, right? It's because companies have come to Youngstown and have charted quarterly projections of how much revenue they can expect if they open a grocery store here. And they have found that they will make double the profit if they open up a store in Pittsburgh or in Cleveland Heights rather than open up one here. So we artificially create a scarcity sense where there isn't one, actually. Capitalism needs to create a sense of scarcity to thrive. I don't even blame it. I mean, that's the only way it can survive. Capitalism has to create a scarcity to thrive. Supply and demand only works if the demand is higher than the supply. So we have to artificially create a lack of supply, a scarcity, so we can keep people perpetually hungry, always wanting, always wanting, always wanting. And I think it's not a surprise that we live unintentionally sometimes, at least I do, with an attitude that everything valuable must be scarce. Right? That's a cultural attitude. Everything valuable must be scarce. We build bunkers where we can store food in case grocery stores get raided by a disaster. We hold our loved ones close sometimes, so close, thinking that love must be scarce. I don't think love is scarce. Food is not scarce. Friendship is not scarce. These come to us in abundance when we learn how to share it with those in our inner circle and way beyond our inner circle. This has been my experience anyway. When I first moved to Youngstown, as many of you know, I came here, I didn't have any family roots here. I didn't have any friends. There wasn't anyone who lived here who had any real understanding of my life before coming here. And I've talked with people who've experienced something similar. It can feel really tough and intimidating. And it's very easy to feel lonely. I remember one time walking in the light rain. It was kind of a gray day like this. I was walking in the light rain with this stubborn thought. I have no friends here. In short, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I passed someone while I was walking with this thought, and they smiled. And I still had the same thought. I have no friends here. And then I passed another person, and they smiled, and they said hello. And by that time, something inside me said, wait a minute. Wait a minute. What if I treated every person I met as a friend? Of course, it would be different, depending on the context. But the attitude would be friendliness. I wondered what it would be like to lead with friendliness rather than a lack of friendship. It was a subtle shift, but it made the difference. And you know what? Everywhere I go, I have way too many friends. Way too many. I saw friendship was being made available to me, just not in the way I expected. And that sense of abundance is also my religious orientation. I think you've probably gathered that by now. I don't subscribe to the belief that you have to do all these special things and be a certain kind of person to receive the abundance of life. If that was true, I would be in trouble. There's no narrow path meant for a few. It's the widest path imaginable. And you know what? my view is we're already on it. We're already on it. Except most of us don't really know that. Or we think we know it, but we don't feel it. Or we know it and we feel it, but we think, oh, this must be scarce. It must be just for us. And not to be shared with the entire world. Every great religious story, in my opinion, points to this reality of abundance. One of my favorite stories, probably one you've heard, is in the New Testament, where Jesus is going to share a message, and 5,000 people show up. And Jesus spends most of his time with only 12 people or less, almost all the time. So his 12 disciples are naturally overwhelmed by the number, 5,000 people. And to make matters more intense, the 5,000 are not just interested in the message. They're hungry, physically hungry. And the disciples, growing up in a culture that is not too dissimilar to ours in many ways, quickly assess the problem and settle on scarcity must be the culprit. We just don't have enough, they tell Jesus. One of the disciples goes so far to say, it's impossible if we try to feed a crowd this big. It's impossible. We simply don't have enough. And Jesus knows by now that even though these are his disciples, he can't really rely only on their wisdom. There is one person in the crowd who knows it's not impossible. It's a child. He steps forward and says in so many words, I think we can end hunger right now for all of us. I think we can end hunger right now for all of us. And without any sense of shame or sheepishness, he gives Jesus all that he has, 5 loaves and 2 fishes. And this is a literary device of the story, but it's also a religious device. The important thing is not the amount. It's that he didn't hold anything back. The boy gave what he had, generously. And I can imagine the disciples seeing this and feeling confirmed in their smart opinions, snickering in the corner. You see how impossible this situation is? There's no way we can end hunger for all these people on 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. Jesus shows no sign of patronizing the boy. He doesn't smile. He doesn't say, oh, how cute. You think this will feed 5,000 people? No. He mirrors the child and receives what is given from the boy without complaint or assessment. Without complaint or assessment. He just purely receives it. And then after receiving the 5 loaves and 2 fishes, he freely gives it away without complaint or assessment. He doesn't track whether people are taking a small piece of bread or a large piece. He doesn't get in the way of it. He just lets it go and surrenders to life. And the story goes that 5,000 people were fed. And you get this? With 12 large baskets left over at the end for all the excess food. I've heard a common commentary that is shared in a lot of Unitarian Universalist churches that actually what happened is all these people brought lunches for themselves, but they did it so in secret because they thought they could only feed their family. So when they saw Jesus give, they started sharing their lunches. throughout the entire crowd. However it happened. A simple act of receiving and giving with faith in the abundance of life. Maybe that's all we're doing here. Maybe that's actually all we're trying to learn. I've wondered that, actually. Maybe that's all we're doing here. In the Buddhist tradition, there's a powerful ritual called feeding the hungry ghosts. Which, have you heard of this, some people, feeding the hungry ghosts? A few people, so I'll explain. So, interestingly, in America, we've kind of merged this tradition, and it's often now aligns with Dia de los Muertos. Feeding the hungry ghosts aligns with Dia de los Muertos. And this ritual gets into the nuance of hunger. According to this tradition, hungry ghosts are figures with very long, skinny necks and bellies that are distended from so much hunger. It's filled with air, the distension. And so the role of a community is to set a table with lots of food to feed them. But here's the nuance. Because the ghosts have tiny, skinny little necks, there is a preference for puddings and sweets that go down easy and don't require too much breaking down or digestion. According to the tradition, the reason for this is many of these creatures could not digest spiritual truths in their lifetime because they were too complicated or too bitter or too tough. So we try to make it easy. We try to make it sweet, but still nourishing. Something that they will enjoy and something that they can handle. And of course, it's not just about ghosts. The ritual is about us, of course. In all the ways we hunger and try to feed ourselves with experiences and things that never satisfy us. And for us, it's the promise of satisfaction, of being content, of learning how to truly receive, so that we can truly give. And that sounds right to me. A place to learn how to receive, truly receive, so we can be free to give. A place to end our hunger, so that we may feed others. A place to pass on what we've received. To enter places of seeming scarcity with another truth. That there is also more than enough here. And because there is more than enough, I'm free. I'm free. I'm free to give you all that I have, wholeheartedly. Please pray with me. Spirit of love, thank you for this delicious soup that is awaiting us. I'm smacking my lips in anticipation. Thank you for all the people that have made this possible. Way, way too many to even list. Thank you to everyone who has made this moment possible. Everyone involved in this service. Everyone who came to this church and everyone online. And everyone who is touched by us in ways that we will never know. May we approach that reality with gratitude and with a sense of ever-flowing abundance. All this we pray. Amen. And now one of my other favorite hymns. You're welcome to rise and body your spirit if you would like to. We're just going to repeat this 3 times. It's very simple, but very deep. It's very simple, but very deep. It's 402 in the gray hymnal. From you I receive. 402 in the gray hymnal. From you I receive.
You I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. Those we keep in our hearts until we meet again.
As you depart and have some great varieties of delicious soup soon, please remember the one great fact: you are loved and never truly alone.